Okay, guys, I've got a great episode for you today. I am talking to the famous and well-known comedian,
Mhm.
Annie Lederman. Letterman. Sorry, I for some reason I get the Letterman. There we go.
Jim Fartin, no problem.
Oh, God. Well, she is a comedian. There you go. Come on, I got that as a kid. So for a little bit, but not much. Okay, so what a way to start. All right, we I'm not sure where this is going to go for everyone listening. Annie was in my program recently, and one day somebody that I know, I've never met him, said you were mentioned on Joe Rogan yesterday. And I'm like, what? I mean, who? How? And he said you, and I'm like, okay. And so I told my team, and none of us knew about it. And you knocked it, of course, out on that interview. Like it's the third I read, the third most downloaded podcast in the world, and you knocked it out of the park. And when you talked about our work together, I'm like, I really want to interview her because I don't really, it doesn't matter to me that you're well known as a comedian and everything. What matters is the transformation that you've gotten for yourself as a human being. That's what matters the most. And when I listened to that 3 or 4 minutes on Rogan, I'm like, I got to introduce her to people because I know that she can share things that people can relate to about being stuck in life and this and that. So there's no format today. Let's go here. So tell people about yourself very quickly and then tell us where you were and then where you are today, meaning in your life before we
Oh,
met and now.
right. Okay. So I am a stand-up comedian. Been doing comedy for since 2009, January 28th of 2009. Coincidentally, the exact same day I quit drinking. Um, I um, I s- I've been doing comedy just this the whole time, living paycheck to paycheck. Um, Always knew this was my work, but I was always never really making money. All my friends, as I continued on in comedy, are some of the richest people in the world,
Yeah.
and I was like living in and out of my car. And when I started taking your course,
Wait,
which
wait.
was
So you were the classic struggling artist.
yeah, well, I say it's like it would the first time you live in your car, it's like going to be a good chapter in your book, and the second time you live in your car, you're like, ooh, maybe there's no book. Shit.
Who the hell's going to read this, right?
I'm like,
How to live out of your car. Well, you could write a book, probably a how to live out of your car.
yeah.
We're going to have
But
fun today. Go ahead.
there was a disconnect where I couldn't understand why I wasn't making money. But there was also another part of it was I was really afraid to put myself out there, which is like sounds crazy because every night I was going on stage. But I mean, I was performing every single night, multiple times a night since I started comedy. But I was still very afraid of the judgment, even though that was kind of so much of it. And I really I didn't even want to post when I was in the TCP the first couple of weeks. I decided I was going to post one of my stand-up clips. I didn't want to post any of my stand-up clips, and I just was like, screw it, and I posted it, and it did really well. But who cares? Like, it just was. It felt so good to do that, and now I post stuff all the time. I mean, I used to be really afraid when I would go on the road. I would be almost afraid to promote myself because there was just this like I was just so afraid I wasn't good enough or that um people wouldn't like me, and so I would be like almost whispering my tour dates. And now I'm like promotion queen. I'm like, let's go, baby. Get
Well,
here. I love the product. You're gonna love the product. We're gonna have so much fun. Come to me.
let's dig in there. It's interesting is that you're in front of people, and especially
Mhm.
being a comedian. I mean, of many of the professions that are in the arts, you're going to get tomatoes. I mean, from the worst
Mhm.
amount of people thrown at you. It just kind of goes along with your profession. Let's make fun of
Mhm.
somebody. Let's have a good whatever. You
Yeah.
know. And what's funny is that was one of your biggest. Now, let me ask you: were you nervous or were you afraid?
I think it was like a little bit of anxiousness, but it was fear. It was fear based because it was this like, am I not good? And I realized that I was going up every time I went on stage to prove whether or not I was funny. And I was needing the audience to tell me like to give me this thing, to give me this approval, and then I would know I was funny. So it was going every night. If I didn't get as many laughs as I wanted, or if I focused on the person not laughing and rather than all the other ones laughing, or
Or
compared
not
myself,
laughing. I mean,
right?
you're funny, but some people aren't going to laugh no matter what you do.
Oh,
Yeah.
and I used to just look at them. I used to look at them and I would ignore the rest of the people. But you also don't even know what they're not laughing at. I mean, they could just be like tired or just
Right.
watching, not having that reaction. But I would always project, the worst and be like, they like almost like they hate me or something. Like I'm going out to like prove to these people. And then what I realized was, and this has been really helping me on the road now, is that I'm having, and I used your workshop of the mind, which is, do you want to explain what that is?
Yeah, explain. I'm going to just, it's yours.
Okay,
Explain.
the workshop of the mind is it's a hypnosis that Jim gave us in the transformational coaching program, where it's like you go into a room, and I create a very specific room, and I cannot wait to buy that house. Can't wait because I know it's coming. But I would go into the room and you say you're there to
Reprogram your subconscious mind.
reprogram your subconscious mind to blank. And I made it be, at first it was money magnet, and I was trying to figure that out. And then I would imagine myself in, a shower of coins, which I don't know why they had to be hurting me, but I was like, ow, ow, ow. And then it could have just been dollars, but I guess I would have given myself paper cuts.
Well, hang on. Wait, stop there. It's interesting that you, early on, you just said it could have been dollars. But notice, isn't it, and which is how you think now, I've watched this happen in you. Isn't it interesting that you picked coins back then as opposed to dollars starting out?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, keep on going.
Yeah.
I just want to create some
Well,
observation there.
I was having trouble, like I couldn't even get to the visuals. Like I used to say, like I would try to visualize myself having a beautiful home or something, and it was almost like that movie Inception, like where they would crumble to the ground, and I couldn't like let myself have that. So so then I switched it to being on stage and an exchange of energy and light. So now I imagine myself on when I'm on stage, just like light exchanging. And now my shows are so much like that it's wild. I have no clue what the sound is that's going on here. But I don't, it's just all this, it really is that. It's this exchange of energy and just like a really cool thing happening, and money, like, okay, I don't know how to turn this off.
That's okay. Yeah, just find out what's clicking there. We'll turn that off. And that's fine, because everyone listening, we're human. Same thing happens in our lives. We're like, we're ready to go. And then the dog barks, or UPS comes, or FedEx. I mean, it's normal. Okay. So what created the big shift for you is, what I'm hearing is learning in the way that I taught you, which we won't go into that here, but you learned how to reprogram your subconscious mind.
Yeah. I realized it was a self-love problem, that it was like, when it came down to it, I just didn't feel good enough, from whatever reason. And I'd done so much therapy, Jim, and I'd done so many like therapy podcasts where you get to the root of it and then you see these patterns and stuff. And it's like, I just was like, how many times am I going to like drag myself through these things? And that's what I think is so attractive to me about the stuff that you do. It's like, not that you like disregard the why, but it's not important. The why isn't as important as it is like what's going on now and moving forward.
And then result. Yeah, I heard you explain that on Rogan, like I said, a few minutes. And let me go there for a second. Is how come, or what got you on one of the biggest podcasts in the world? I'm not asking for mechanics. I'm asking for what's in you.
I'm authentic. I'm myself all the time. I'm 100%, always since I was born, have been myself. And it's been something that like has like gotten me negative and positive attention. And it's something that like I'm really, really learning to absolutely love every part of and be so proud of myself.
Let's go here then. A lot of people, as you know, and you in your own life, and you've witnessed with me, is I tell people, just be real, be who you are, be what you are, just be you. And we're afraid to, because we're going to get judged. And then we're afraid that if I'm me, then people aren't going to like me. So the question here is, even though you were being authentic, were you still afraid that that's still not good enough?
Yeah, I think it was that. And I was also afraid of kind of like shining too much or taking too much or being like, it felt like if I were to be my full self, it would almost be like taking from others, which I learned like is not, it's really just like inspiring others to do that too. It's not, there is no like one amount of light, there's just
Yeah.
like a light and it's just like how much you're willing to show of your own.
Okay, so I'm gonna toss this at you. Pick one entertainer, one comedian that you get their career,
No
and
one.
they're well, now hang on, just so the audience will know.
Okay.
You're as big as them or bigger that we know. Who would that be?
Um, as big of or as bigger? Oh, Jim, I really, this is a stumper. I don't think there's anyone doing that's at the exact same level on that or that has been. I really don't know.
No, no,
I get,
no. Like for Joan Rivers, David Letterman, Johnny Carson.
what about if what level they were at when
Pick. You're huge. You're on stage in front of the whole world.
mhm.
What person now would be on that stage in front of the whole world that you're like, that's what I'm going to create?
I think Joan Rivers because she just never stopped. She didn't stop till the end. Like it
Okay.
just never ended. And she always delivered everything she delivered out of it was always jokes. It was just she always like came back to what her gift was and she didn't apologize. Obviously there's room for apology if there's some like crazy misstep, but it's really, especially with what's happening now with I don't even want to say cancel culture because I'm so over the term, but it's like
Yeah.
I will never be canceled.
Yeah. Let's
It's
go
not,
here. I was
when
going
I
to pick
first,
her.
but I was going to say to you, when I first started your course, I was like very worried about getting canceled. And it was like week 2, I was over it. I'm like, why am I here on this earth if I'm going to compress myself and keep myself smaller? I'm here to like be as big as I possibly can
Okay.
and
For
just say,
everyone listening, we're gonna take this apart when it comes to transformation. But the reason I ask you that because I'm trying to contrast here
mhm.
where you were and how far you saw yourself going before we met and now. And that's why I ask you, give us somebody we can relate to. And I was going to pick Joan Rivers, but I'm like, I'm talking to Annie, and I don't know what's going to happen if I pick that name. So because I don't, there's a lot of places you can go of Joan Rivers. And I'm like, but that's kind of who I thought. I mean, that woman was a powerhouse and she served till the end, you know?
She would have, I saw her the night before she passed away. I saw her she was doing one of the red carpet roundups on Fashion Police. And I met her just like once in passing. We both had shows on E. Hers had more than 4 episodes. Um, but I had seen her like pretty recently. And then I never really watched the show Fashion Police. I just happened to watch it the night before. And I said, she will go on for another 20 years. Like she'll just keep going. And then when she died, I was like, oh my God. But she died, I mean, still at her prime. I mean, at her absolute best, still so
Yeah.
good. And she came from a darkness, and that's what I kind of love. Like not a darkness, but like an honesty about your dents or like the things that you've been through, or the things that make you different. And she wasn't like trying to be, I don't know, she just wasn't better than anyone. She wasn't acting better than anyone, or
I
she was
love
being
that. Let's take this apart. The list you've given me so far is you used to be nervous and afraid to be in front of an audience. Now, as I
even
understand,
though
I'm sorry, even what?
even though I did it every single night, multiple
Okay.
times.
But now you're not.
Mm-mm.
Okay. Tell people the epiphany that you had that made that shift for you.
I am now here I go on stage, I go, it's an honor to perform for these people. I'm so grateful that I get to be here and that I get to exchange this energy. I'm here to make people happy, make them laugh. I'm not here to take from them or need them to tell me I'm good. Do you know what I
Let's,
mean? It's
let's,
like,
let's encapsulate, of course, because we talk about that in TCP. So would it be fair to say that where you come from now is part of what you're doing is not for the adulation or the self-validation, but it's the service and the expansion, which is happiness and the laughter that
100%. And the validation, like I still work on it. Like sometimes I'm reading comments and stuff and wanting to hear the good stuff, but I really do work on the self-esteem and the loving myself. And it really just doesn't matter. It's helped me so much with just like, what helped me with negative comments was when you talked about judgment of other people. And I was like, why am I going to judge? I have no clue what that person that called me a fat bitch, like logged in and like their day probably wasn't as, I don't want to compare, but it probably wasn't as good as my day.
Yeah.
Like I didn't have any, but I'm like, I don't know what's going on in their life. And a lot of the times, Jim, too, whenever I've like responded to those things or let them hurt, the people are like, I love you. I was just kidding. Da, 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 da. So it's like, I just choose to kind of like, if I see it, just really when I start to get anger over, I'm like, what am I getting mad about? And why am I letting my ego be so fragile that some random person I've never met, like, and maybe I'm just not for them. Who cares?
And exactly. So let me add there. Would you say, because I agree, I used to many years ago be like, am I good enough? Are my programs good enough? Because what if people like, I laugh at this now. I'm like, what if people compare me to the big tall guy that's been around for a lot of years and that I'm not good enough? And now you've been around me for a while and we have quite a few people in the program. They're like, I want you over that person. And I'm like,
Yeah.
whoa, what? Me?
Yeah.
And they're like, we'll take you. And where I'm going here is when I learned to not, and this is a phrase I use a lot, stop asking how good you are and ask what the world needs.
Yeah.
What I'm getting on the podcast are getting to, and you, when I work from the place that let me just go do what I do it as well as I can, let me have fun, I stopped worrying about what people thought about me or specifically, was I good enough? Now, I'm asking you, did you have that experience? Does it apply?
Yeah, I definitely did. And I was comparing myself a lot. And yeah, it was never gonna, and it really was never gonna be good enough. Even if I had a good set, it was like, because everything was on that external validation, it would just deplete over and over again. But if it comes from myself, it's not going anywhere. So,
Okay,
and it
good.
just the performances are just so, it's just, it's like magic. I don't even know what's going on. It's so incredible. It's so fun to like meet people and have them like, I just, it's just like, okay, so I had a history of sexual assault and I've talked about it a lot and I joke about it and I really am at a place where I feel like, bring me my dog. And I feel like I don't know how to explain it where it doesn't sound like so crazy, but I'm like glad it all happened because it's given me like this sort of like message to share. And I have these like men and women coming up to me after my sets and having listened to my podcast and stuff, and they're like, thank you so much. Like it's helping me get through like the stuff that I went through. And it's like, it's just like I could never have asked for like a better like payment. It just feels so good to like help people just like realize that it's like totally okay and that it's just a thing that happened and that it's like, like it made me an artist. It made me like, and who knows, maybe it didn't, but it's like I'm funny as fuck and I laugh all day and I have a beautiful life. And I just like hearing people get that message from me with, and it's like priceless. It's priceless.
What
But
shifted,
also
you said,
not money, but also I'm making like money, but also it's priceless.
you said, I hear you. You said, well, I don't know what happened. This is what happened. It's very subtle, subconsciously. When you shed the fear, and I'm talking to everyone listening, when you shed the fear, you started showing up differently. Now it might be very subtle, but your inflection was different. Your energy was different. You've heard me say,
If you come to a show, it ain't subtle at all. I come out with like music blasting.
but hang on. No, I get that. But hang on. We
Yeah.
read people subconsciously, not even knowing we read them. And that's why we're like, they're not confident, or they're afraid, or they're this, or I don't trust them. We read them subconsciously. When you shifted internally, you literally shifted something about yourself externally. Now, what happened is we sitting in the audience, guess what? We're seeing something different now than we saw 6 months ago. And we're connecting more with that person who is feeding you energy and you're feeding it back than we were 6 months ago. You
Yeah.
shifted, your world shifted. And that's amazing when that happens.
Yeah.
Right?
Because if I go out like scared, then the audience is going to be scared because I've been in an audience. If I can think back, like before I was a performer being in an audience, it's scary because you don't want the person to bomb. You're like, oh God, I hope they don't
Yeah.
bomb. Like, oh, like once you see them nervous, you go, uh-oh. Like for me at least, I'm
They
empathetic, but
being a speaker, there's a phrase. I used to train platform speakers, and the phrase is worse than bombing yourself, or worse than you bombing, not bombing yourself. Worse than you bombing is watching someone else bomb. I
yeah,
mean, that's like you cringe. You're like, poor lady, poor guy. I mean, let's pull this out. I don't want. Yeah, this is hard. But
yeah.
anyway, transformation. So what happened I mean, you went from not good enough to now good enough within 6 months, 3 months, actually, 4 months.
I would say weeks, Jim. Like, I mean, it was like weeks when I started doing the subconscious reprogramming. And when I realized, and I read Love Yourself Like Your
Life
Life Depends
depends on
on
it.
You, listen to it. I like people to read to me. And I wasn't grateful, Jim. I was not grateful. I was not, my career, if I were to look at it on paper, I'd be like, oh my God, I have been successful this entire time. Like there's not been a minute I wasn't, but I was comparing myself to other people. Why do you have that? And I don't have that. And while I was doing that, I was completely not showing gratitude for all the things that I had. So when I first came to you, or you came to me, or we were given to each other,
Sure.
um, I was living in this apartment. I did find a good boyfriend. I had found someone that is very special, and I had done enough work. Like I shifted enough, but it's just getting deeper and better now. And we have a dog. It's just like I woke up this morning, Jim. I was like, I want to scream. I'm in bliss. Like I want to scream. Like before we even had the dog, I felt that way about my boyfriend. But now the dog and my boy, I'm like, oh my, I can't believe what I wake up in. It's
Wait till
just
you
amazing.
listen. You know him. Wait till you listen to Manuel. I'm interrupting. Wait till
Mm,
you listen to Manuel. He goes, I went from my life being just, it was really bad, to I want to cry that I feel so good. And
every day.
we're all able to do that. And for me also, that came from, I've learned over the years, I had to, because I was destructive if I didn't. I had to learn to love myself and be megatomic, truly at a deep level grateful. Because when you're grateful, then you're grateful for the haters. You're lucky you have haters because you got a stage and this and that. I got time. I got every day right now doing while we're promoting TCP. Trust me, I hear every day how stupid I am and what an idiot I am and all these kind of things from the haters. We just click them and hide them. But gratitude, like Oprah said, gratitude is the attitude. But most of us, we hear it, and we're like, oh, that's good. Okay, next. We don't live it.
And it's such an easy shift to like right in the morning. If I wake up with like a, ugh, I can just gratitude it away. But here's what I wanted to tell you. So when I don't know if you know, okay, so when I first started taking TCP, I was living in, first of all, by the way, I had in my head no money. I was broke. I'm in the middle of a
Yeah.
pandemic. Former, I can't do it. I didn't have any ads on my podcast that I was doing. I was making like no money. I didn't want to take government money. Like it was just such a weird, like I just was like scrounging. My apartment was $1,600. My boyfriend had moved in with me. I was going to break up with him. Then the pandemic hit and I was like, stay, thanks. I couldn't be more grateful for this damn pandemic. No offense. But
You were going to break up with him prior to the
yes,
pandemic? Okay.
I was like, you're too young. You're this. He said to me, don't you just want someone to love you and help you with things? And I went, why would I want that? Like, I thought
Mm.
that was like the response. And then the pandemic hit and I was like, I don't want to like break up with this person. I love this person. And he stayed and it was just like we just fell in love and it was just this perfect. The pandemic was really a time for me to like break down barriers that I had built up about for myself. So it was just only so fitting that I found you. And I had been listening to your podcast, but I took the money mastermind course.
Yeah.
I did the Be Do Have. And it's funny, the first time when I took the money masterclass, I missed one of them and I didn't think about it for a couple months. You said one thing I heard and I took that and I went, I got it, and like shut the computer. It was like, I'll watch the rest later. And what you had said was your value is not in what you do or how hard you work, it's in where you value yourself.
Yeah.
And
No,
I
no.
went, that,
Hang on. For everyone listening, is we think we've been told that create value and you'll get paid and money's going to flow from the sky. Not true. The money comes from valuing the value you create. And if you don't value what you create, then that's a lack of self-worth. And if you don't value it, which you used to not do for your work, why would I?
right.
Keep on going. Okay.
And I was like, cause I'm like, but I'm working hard and I'm struggling, you know, it's almost like sometimes when you're struggling in your brain, you feel
Right.
like
Yeah.
you're
Been
hard.
there.
Yeah, it's not really that. So anyway, so I heard that. I was like, whatever, listen to the Be Do Have. Then Jim, when you had, for anyone that doesn't know, he had heart failure and a stroke. And I went, I'm about to take this course. Like, I was like, I really was
That
like,
dude's going to kick the bucket. I need
I go,
to
I
get,
gotta take this friggin' course before this guy passes away or whatever, he floats into the fizzle.
kick the
Um,
bucket. Yeah.
but I was like, I'm like, so I'm grateful for your heart failure. Thank you.
Me
It
too.
made a lot of money, made me a lot of money. But so anyway,
I'm glad I can have heart failure to help you. As long as I can help, that's all that matters.
so precious. But but that was okay, let's not like wait around. But I must have had like, I maybe had $600 in the bank, $700 in the bank. And when you offered to be able to pay monthly, I went, I'm in. I said, I just got to do it. There's just no way. I'm not gonna like wait on this. So I had never spent this much money in my life, which was the total like on one thing. And I just said like, screw it, I'm doing it. And so at that time, we were living in this apartment. It had been sold to another company who had been trying to get us out. They were doing construction around every single every wall was getting construction all day.
Sure.
There was the Black Lives Matter rallies were going on right outside our house. Cop cars burning, helicopters. Like, it was just so much intense noise. The crime got really bad in my neighborhood. It was a lot. It was just like, I felt so trapped and miserable, and I wanted to get a buyout from this company. So I was staying there, and I was like, not like using my brain to think of other ways to make money. I had an ulcer. I was just so stressed out. My dog got mange. Like, everything was just like, it felt like I was trapped. My world was a nightmare. I signed up for your course. My boyfriend and I eventually go see our parents for the first time since the pandemic. So that was probably a couple weeks in to the course, maybe 3 weeks in. We come back. The apartment building had already taken our parking, or this, like, so we're like these victims of this apartment complex now. They'd already taken our parking, our laundry, and we come back and they boarded up the whole front of our building. And we just looked at each other and said, enough. I go, we're moving in 2 days. I don't care what happens. We're getting out of here. That must have been May. I said, we're leaving. So I go to my mailbox after that second. Okay, it's been 1 minute maybe. I go to my mailbox. I open up the mail. I'm like, I got to figure out a way to get out of this. I know I can. I can manifest this money or figure it out. I open up my mail. It's a letter from the IRS. My old brain goes, oh, fuck. What do I owe them? Oh, shit. And then I go, wait, I just spent $3,000, $4,000 on this fucking course. I'm using it. So I was like, I held the thing and I went, this does not mean it's bad. This is just a letter. That's all it is. I opened it. $6,000 in unclaimed tax money. When does that happen? They just gave me $6,000 that I was owed.
To give it back to you.
That. We moved out in 2 days. The first apartment complex we looked at was perfect. We decided to get a 1-bedroom because we liked the lighting. We got the 1-bedroom. We've lived here for 3 months. We're moving to a 2-bedroom. I broke the lease because I got lease breaking money. Our rent was $1,600. That was May. We moved out. June 29th was my dad's 80th birthday party. I bought a first-class ticket to go surprise him for his 80th birthday party for $1,600.
Which we talked about in TCP, which that's kind of a secret for later, but we have to expand the money consciousness.
But it meant nothing. It was like, I don't worry about money anymore. I used to worry about money all the time. My jaw was clenched all the time, worrying about money. I don't worry about it at all.
Because
I know it's if you create expansion in the universe and you are here for the exchange and flow of money, that it will always flow to me. I'm 100% a money magnet, and it's just like the shows that I'm doing now. When I used to go on the road, I was scared to promote. Oh, I don't want them to come see me not be good. What if they don't like me? Now that I'm, my biggest self, and I have a podcast that people are really resonating with. I did a show in Utah I sold out every show. I hit my bonuses. I've never hit a bonus. I hit my bonuses and now I just keep hitting the bonuses. And sometimes I don't, but the people that are there are it's such a special, amazing,
Hmm.
fun, unique experience to be with them. And it's just like, absolutely, it's just fire.
Now, people haven't changed. You've changed.
Hmm.
So is it fair to say, which I say a lot, but sometimes it takes us forever to get it, is that the world doesn't change. We must change first. And
Yeah.
when we change, the world will change. So
Yes.
you changed, and now you're having, as I am observing and you're sharing, a completely different experience of life as a result of you shifting.
Can I tell you one thing I forgot
Yes,
about that?
sure.
Okay, so before we moved out of the apartment, you were talking about, this was I don't know what week it was, but it was when I first started listening to Love Yourself Like Your Life Depends on It, and you were talking a lot about gratitude. And so, is there a whole week on gratitude? It might have been that week.
Well, we
But
talk a lot about gratitude. There's not a week on it, but I talk about it constantly because it's a
but
foundation.
I'm like, so anyway, so I went around my neighborhood and I said, and I was like, you know what, this neighborhood right where I live is kind of like messed up right now. There's a lot of like stuff happening right in that
Right,
block. But I
right.
started taking these walks and I would just go, I love myself. I love myself. I love myself on the walks. I started like looking up and like looking at all the houses and the trees. And I was like, this is a really nice neighborhood. This is a beautiful neighborhood. I feel so grateful that I live here. I'm really going to miss this neighborhood when I move out of here. And I just started to like think in those terms. Like I just really was like, okay. Another thing, I kind of like looked at money as being like evil or hard or like greedy.
Yep.
And now I look at it um, like you were saying, it's to help you make your life
Expand,
easier and help you
serve.
expand. So it's so easy for me. There's things like that I stress out about where it's like I can just really just spend money to not stress out about that. And then the money will come back to me and I'll be able to like do more of what I'm here to do rather
Hmm.
than like, oh, how am I going to get this car to this car to this car? And I'm just like, I can just hire someone to figure that out for me. Or
It makes life a lot easier. Let's go back here for a second. Very good stuff. Many years ago, my mentor, Don Javier, his mentor, said to me, he's a shaman and a sorcerer, and he said that when we place too much importance, self-importance on ourselves, we don't see the world. And I remember one day I was pulling out of my garage and I wasn't feeling good energetically. It was the full moon. I wasn't feeling good. And I pulled out of my garage and I'm like, I feel really bad today. And as I pulled out in my Mercedes, I mean, I'm not even grateful for sitting in a Mercedes. I pull out of my garage and I'm like, what a beautiful day today. And you know what? If I focused on myself and how bad I felt right now, I wouldn't even notice how beautiful, I mean, extraordinarily beautiful day it is today. And that was a reinforcement for me about 10 years ago, is place my awareness on the world outside and the beauty in it, not what's right now. I want to distract myself with something that's not going to serve me. So I wanted to add that. And then some money now. You said you used to think it was evil. I never thought that. I just always repelled it. How do you feel now? Not think, feel. How do you feel now?
money, I don't feel any, I just go, oh, I don't even know it. I just have it. I don't know what to say. I just have it and I
Like it's
make it.
normal, right? It just comes.
Just such a part of like putting my pants on. Money goes into my account, take them off at night. Money goes out of my account. I'm telling you, my whole family, nobody has ever had this like thought process, but it's crazy. It's just, and it makes so much stuff easier. It's like, I went on this family vacation and my brother was like, stay with us. He had just gotten this big house. He's like, everybody stay with us. And I was like, I'll just get a hotel. And he's like, no, stay. It'll be fun. 2 days in, I'm getting screamed at. I was like, I was going to buy a hotel. But it's like, it is those things where it's like, you can just do these things that are like, it's like helps me create boundaries and space, conserve my energy. It's just such I don't know.
It's a tool.
I, and I don't have that like, wait, maybe I shouldn't get that. Do you know, I don't do that like, oh wait, like I just get it. I mean, I don't go crazy. Like if the first class is like $2,000, I won't do it. But for my dad's birthday, I was like, isn't it important for me to show up as happy and comfortable as I possibly can to
Right.
celebrate this amazing, wonderful man that's in my heart? Like, wouldn't that be the thing? for me to do. And it's just my whole family is kind of shifting around me. It's like, Jim, I got a text message from my mom that was like, did I like time travel and go into my mom's phone and send this to her? Like, because it was something like I had always needed. And though I don't like need it now, it's just such an icing on the cake that my mom just sent me a text message that's like,
You don't have your phone. You left it in the other room, I think.
I did, I know.
Well, what did it say, if you want to share?
It said, can I go grab it?
Yeah, go ahead. All right, guys, she will be right back while she goes, because she's living in a one bedroom. How far is she going to go?
I know.
So she'll be right back. And, you know, when she had her dog, I'm a dog lover. You don't know where things are going to go with Annie. She is a comedian. I do respect her tremendously. When her dog hopped up, I was going to say, oh, like Paris Hilton. But I had no idea where that was going to go. And I'm like, I ain't touching that one right now.
I just flashed my vagina. Sorry, kids. That's a old reference to a magazine. Okay, so from my mama. Like this just, I didn't say, Mom, can you send me like the nicest text? She just wrote me out of nowhere and she goes, I forgot to tell you when I was trolling you on the internet, I listened to a podcast you did in the beginning of the pandemic. And she said, I have to tell you, it was absolutely hilarious. I couldn't stop laughing except to cough and blow my nose. She was sick. And she goes, I'm so proud of you and what you've accomplished, sweetheart. It's all you, no one else.
And what does that mean to you?
It's just, like I joke about this, but my mom will go like, podcasts are so boring. I'm like, which podcast do you listen to? She'll be like, yours. And I'm like, what? Like, she's so honest. I'm like, I love that about her, but I'm like, ooh. And I definitely got it from her. But you know, it's just nice that she like loves what I do. It's so cool. My aunt and uncle came, who I really like had a lot of judgments on, thought they wouldn't like my thing. They're a little religious and stuff. And they were listening to me make jokes about my butthole and stuff. They were just like cracking up and it was just like, what is going on? I'm like, this is insane.
Well, this is a new angle on the podcast. So I'm not even going to touch some of this stuff. We're going to leave it alone on this podcast. It's generally a Disney rated podcast, but it's fine too, because you know me, so it's fine too.
Yes.
Totally, all good.
Parents.
External validation. Now, what was it that was a bridge for you? Because this is a big one for a lot of people. I need people to like me, and I have to bend over backwards so everybody will like me and accept me. And I have to say the right thing or they're not going to like me, or I've got to do the most amazing job or they're not going to like me. What was that pivot for you to where now you don't feel like you need that?
I like myself. And so if I just realized if I were to be going off external validation and I were to be focused on what other people wanted from me, how would I ever win that game? Like, that just is so impossible. It's like, I can't go into people's minds, know what they want. It was just, I was so tired, you know, I was just exhausted trying to fit into these things. And then I didn't even like it. So I just now say what I feel and think, and I tell jokes that I think are funny, and you know, you guys do with it what you want.
So would it be also that you've surrendered to just being you?
Yeah. Surrender is a big one. I mean, it really is just like, it's so good. Like, it's just surrendering and it's so good.
Explain. I mean, I talk about it a lot, but let's hear your perspective.
I just am in bliss. I don't even know what to say. I'm just like, just things keep happening. Like, it's just like, I don't want to sound like I like what you say, where it's like, you're like, sometimes when you say some of the things that you have, you're like, I'm not bragging. I'm just like showing you that you can have it too. You know, but I'm like about to get a Tesla. It's just like things that I'm like, I was like living in a car, and and not that things are, it's just, I want it. And it's the type of car I want to drive, and I can have it now. And it's like, I wasn't letting myself have those things. I was sabotaging myself. I was like, you know what I thought my problem was going to be coming into your program?
What's that?
Procrastination.
And
that word doesn't like exist in my life. It's just like, what do I want? Do I want it? And can I get it? It's like, I just get like, I'm manifesting things on a level that it's like, it's so, I have to like let myself believe that it's happening, because it is happening. I mean, just weird. Like, I'll just be like, I was in New York and I wanted to see my friend Rex. I'd lost his number and I was like, I want to see Rex. I was like, I'm just going to go into his neighborhood and I'm going to do a live feed and just see if I can find Rex, because I wanted him to come to one of my shows, because he used to come to the open mics.
Mm-hmm.
And I went on the live feed and I got a call from, in 10 seconds, I got a call. I was like, I just knew, I just was like, I'm going to go find Rex. I'm going to go get him. Like, it wasn't like, I hope Rex is like, I just was like, I'll go get that. It's just, I don't like.
That's I talk about earlier in the podcast, is that we're all connected energetically. We're bioelectromagnetic beings, as you're familiar with. Many years ago, I'll make this a very short story. Very good friend of mine in college. We backpacked across Mexico after college back in the early 90s, late 80s. And I knew that he kind of become this person where he just was a traveler, nomad. And one day I said, I wonder where my brother Chris is. I haven't seen him in 10 years. And I got an email the next day saying, hey, Jim, it was a company in Italy where I used to speak. And I used to go back to Italy quite a bit to speak there. And they said, this guy sent us this email yesterday. He's looking for you. And he saw you on our website in Milan. And we're sending you the email. So one day, I'm looking for Chris. The next day, he's looking for me at the same time. And the next day, I get an email from him through them saying, let's reconnect. And that's the power of our thoughts. I mean, our thoughts manifest, like Ernest Holmes said. Let's go here. Let's wrap up kind of here. Then we're going to wrap up with you.
Can I say something that I said this in one of the groups or something, but it's like, I just realized like I get every single thing that I want, and I always have gotten everything that I want. So it's like, it was just a matter of what I wanted. And because I had this problem with self-love, or, you know, I struggled. I don't even know what the words are. I mean, I just didn't love myself. What I wanted was to reinforce that. So that's what I was doing. But everything I've wanted, if I've had a moment where I wanted something, I've always gotten it. And I don't mean that in a braggy way. I mean, I've run for my life quite a few times too, but it's like, I really get what I want. And so now that I'm like, know that, it's really wild. And it feels like I'm in this playground of light, and it's so cool.
Let's shift that. That's important. Let's shift that. As I tell people in TCP, is I don't want anything. Because to want nothing is to have everything. That's a powerful phrase when we finally we get it, and we really get it. So I've noticed your languaging in our time together, in the long time that I've known you, months. And when you intend for your intention, when you intend for it to happen, it happens for you. This is going to happen. That's going to happen. And you mentioned a couple of times in our time together, I knew it's going to happen. Boom, it happens. That's the power. So notice also how powerful you are, because when you use your attention and you use it consciously, boom, it shows up for you in your life. Power.
Yeah.
So I think.
Well, you're right. Want, it's like sticky, or like, give me.
When you want something, you tell the universe you don't have it, and the universe says, "Okay, kid, you don't have it. Then we're not. You know, you're focusing on not having. We're going to expand that, because everything is expansion. So we're going to expand you not having that. Let's do this. I know that you and I could talk for a long time. There's a lot of things we could talk about, and this would have to be literally PG rated if we really talk. I know that. I know you. But let's go here. This is not about TCP. If somebody came to you and said, my life was like your life 6 months ago, what are the things, and we've talked about it, but just your own words, how do I change my life? How do I do what you've done to get out of this ruts and living in my car? How do I change my life? What do I do? And you were coaching them, not selling them anything, coaching them. What would you say?
Well, I do send them to your podcast. I really don't know how we're going to get this bill right, because you owe me some money, my friend.
Good.
I gotta just say it real fast.
Yeah.
I did a show in New York, and Todd came with his wife. His long last name from TCP.
Oh,
and
yeah.
We started talking about you in line at the meet and greet. And this guy behind me was like, what are you guys talking about? And I got this long message. He's like, oh my God, I'm already feeling shifts. Like, it really is like amazing, the stuff that you do. And I was very scared in the beginning, because I had gone through Landmark, and I really felt very like I had been in a cult, not saying that Landmark is a cult, but I had felt that way. And I really I had been very squeamish of like sounding dogmatic or like, this is the thing you have to do or whatever. But it is like, I do like letting people know about you. I mean, I like being
Well, hang
like, if
on.
you
But
want, you don't have to, but.
no, I'm truly grateful for that because it means I'm doing what I need to be doing in the world. But just give me like, 3 minute spiel.
Okay.
My life's upside down. And where you are as a human being today, tell me how to get out of the rut. Not TCP, none of that. Just like we're
I
friends.
Yeah. I would say you need to work on loving yourself. You have a subconscious belief that you should have whatever you have right now that you're unhappy with. And do you want to role play back?
Well, loving yourself and be happy, right? Which I talk about all the time. And when people hear that, it's such buzzwords, they skip right over it. And let's go there. Let's finish up there because I just did an audio series, and I've mentioned this a lot in the last 30 days, is we dismiss when we hear love yourself. We're like, what is that mumbo jumbo, new age BS, blah, blah, psycho babble, armchair babble, psychological crap. I know people do that, some people. Would you, and I tell people in the audio that I recently created, you don't love yourself, nothing else is possible. The money, the health, it's not going to work. It just won't. Would you say that if somebody said, give me one thing, your friend, your bestie from high school, give me one thing, would that be the one thing?
That would be the one thing.
Power. It's power. I want to say this. Unfortunately, I'm not like Joe Rogan where I can go for 4 hours, and then he gets for a while and different people, but I'm grateful for you. I really am. I'm grateful to know you. I'm grateful to work with you. I'm grateful to have the experience with you. You're quite an amazing person, as is pretty much, no, not pretty, as is everyone in TCP, as you know. It's all these amazingly powerful spirits.
It's so cool. I'm like trying to explain to my friends where I'm like, all these things are happening for me, but it's like not just me. It's like it really is like it's really amazing. I'm so honored to be on your podcast. I'm so excited. I'm so sad it's ending. I really want to say a million things, but I really, yeah,
Well, you
I'm
know
just
what?
glad that. What's
We could
that?
also do like James. We've never done this before, but we could also do multiple episodes.
I
So
would love it.
that's an option. So I want to tell you that speaking of love, I love you very much, and I'm very grateful for
Mhm.
you, and thank you for investing your time. The little glitches we had, and today, and then our scheduling and everything.
Oh,
I'm honored.
here, I told you that I was like, I hope you don't. I just didn't want you to think I would ever stand
No,
you.
I didn't think you were a flake at all. We did, guys,
No,
everyone listening, we had some scheduling problems, and it's my fault, my team, our responsibility, not a fault. But we dropped the ball in a few places, which is very rare. And I was actually telling a team, I was like, her time's valuable. I mean, she could be doing a show, she could be traveling. We got to make sure that we do not drop the ball anywhere in our processes, which we normally don't, as you know. But anyway, it worked exactly like it needed to work.
There's a thing I wanted to say to you that I really, really, really love about you is there have been times when I've tried to almost like papa you or like, I don't know, put you on a different level than me. And you just never, that's not what you do. You're not like, I'm this, you're here to expand and have everyone. Like, you're not like, these are copyrighted things. Don't take, like, you're just so generous. And it's really like, I feel blessed. I love you. It's just amazing. I'm so excited to learn more. And I just love not knowing things. It's so cool. I don't know. It's just really cool.
That's what we tell people. And that's what changed your career for you is my whole role on this planet is to create expansion for other people. And the more expansion that I create for them, the more they create for me. And to me, that brings me anything and everything that I can air quote want in life. And it's all something that's available to all of us. Is you validated today, is I just get up on stage and you even said, I create expansion, laughter. I love to laugh, as you know me. And I'm much different not on the podcast and even in the group, I'm just direct. You know that.
Oh, don't worry, I'm gonna get you. Not
Okay, that's good. No, that's fine. But you know what? You create expansion. Expansion. So thank you for being here, and I will catch you in the group, okay?
Thank you so much, Jim. Such an
Okay.
honor.
Take
Thank you
care.
so much.
Okay.
No
Thank
words.
you.
Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.